I wish you were dead. I wish you were dead. Have you ever said that to somebody? Jesus told a parable about somebody saying something just like that. So, when the younger son in the prodigal son story said, "Give me your inheritance. Give me my inheritance," he was basically saying, "I wish you were dead, Dad." You know, because an inheritance, when do you receive an inheritance? When that person dies. So when you're demanding an inheritance right here, right now, you're basically saying, I wish you were dead. I want that money so I can go off and spend it. And I want to remind us today about the prodigal son story. There's two major points. One is remember how the father restored the son when he returned. But two, before we get to that, I want to talk about how evil and vile and, worthy of judgment that guy was, man. I have not found the resources that verify this myself, but I've heard that there was a parable similar to the prodigal son in the time of Jesus, that it was like a Jewish story or metaphor, and the prodigal son who did that to his dad, who rebelled, that father would have turned him over to the religious council, to the community, to have that son stoned. And I don't mean hit a bong 10 times. I mean throw rocks at him and crush his skull and kill the boy. And so Jesus, when he told the story, he was kind of flipping the script, because the Jewish listeners were probably thinking, oh, I recognize this story, this metaphor. I know where this is going. But it didn't go there. It didn't go to judgment when the boy came back. It came to something completely different. But sometimes we've heard that story so many times, the prodigal son story, that we might think that, he went off and he, had sex with prostitutes, and he got drunk. He may even did chemicals that they had at the time, like doing drugs or sorcery. He did some wild, loose living. And we think, gosh, it's kind of normal. He went and sowed his wild oats. But you know what? What he did, the attitude, what he did by asking his dad for the inheritance now, basically saying, I don't want to wait around until you die. I want my money now. That's such an insult. That's so depraved. That's so evil. That's so wrong. It's so mean. It's so selfish. And so I don't want us to forget how messed up that prodigal son was. He was messed up. You may have heard that when he came home, the father met him with hugs and kisses, and he put a robe on him. This guy was feeding pigs. He was probably muddy and filthy and gross, and he probably smelled, but he put a robe on him, which kind of meant that he was royalty, that he was family, that he belonged. He put sandals on his feet. Apparently slaves, bond slaves and slaves due to war and whatnot, didn't have shoes. They were barefoot. They were poor. So putting shoes on him made him know that he wasn't a slave anymore, that he was free. They gave him a ring, and in those days the ring was probably like a signet ring. You go down to the local shop and you press your wing into some melted wax as a seal, and it kind of had probably the family letters on it, or the family symbol, and that was like a credit card, like saying, I'm good for this, here's my ring smashed in the wax, send me the invoice, I'm going to pay it. So giving the son his ring was like giving him a credit card. Until you get on your feet again, here's a credit card to kind of make things up. And he killed the fatted calf. He threw a party. He had perceived him as being dead, and now he was alive. And That's kind of a real dramatic way to tell things. Someone was dead and now they're alive. That's real joy. That's real rejoicing. So the Father restored to the Son all this stuff. He didn't just welcome him back and say, okay, we'll let you hang out with us. We'll let you be one of the hired men, like the speech you prepared for me, you suggested, bring you back as a hired man because they eat better than pigs do. No, he did more than just accept him back. He welcomed him with open arms, and he restored him as a son. And wow. One other point that I love to point out about that story is oftentimes it's kind of assumed that, when the prodigal son, it said he came to his senses, it's kind of assumed that he repented. And it doesn't say he repented. In fact, it says he came to his senses and he thought, even my dad's hired hands eat better than this. I'm going to go back and say, take me as your hired hand. And he had kind of this speech. He prepared what he was going to say to his father. And his father kind of interrupted him in the middle of his speech. He goes, no. You're my son. Come back. Here's a robe. Here's sandals. Here's a ring. He restored him fully. So when he came to his senses, he didn't have the right attitude that we might want to attribute to when somebody repents. We want them to have contrition. We want them to feel sorry for it. We want them to say, I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. I'm crying now because I'm so sorry. It hurts my... We want them to kind of feel the pain and be appreciative of the fact that we're showing them mercy. We're not giving them the judgment that they deserve. We're not giving that to them. So, but sometimes we kind of project onto people how we want them to feel and how we want them to approach being forgiven. And you know what? This Bible story, this major parable in the teachings of Jesus doesn't show us the contrition of that kind of attitude. It shows that he came to his senses, and a common definition for repentance you've heard a lot is we turn around. He basically changed the direction and went back home. And that step, going and traveling back home, that was the repentance. That was the necessary steps, according to Jesus, to be restored. It wasn't the feelings, the emotion, the contrition, the owning the sin and confessing the sin and proclaiming the sin and asking for forgiveness. It wasn't that. It was just coming back. And the father was just yearning for his son to come back. He was out there looking for him. And when he saw him, he ran to him. He ran to him. It wasn't the son running to the father, but the father was running to him. Some people suggest that parable should be called the prodigal father, which is a good point because it's about kind of the father's heart. And isn't that so cool how the restoration of God, when we come to him, and we don't have to have all the emotions. We don't have to feel it. We don't have to cry. We don't have to shed tears. We don't have to apologize. Sometimes it's just a simple turning around and coming towards our Father. And that may look different for you and me and that other guy over there and that girl over here, those people over there. It might look different. We don't have a set standard emotional temperature we have to take with a thermometer. Boop. To determine whether they deserve mercy. God's merciful. His loving kindness is everlasting. Anyway, I wanted to share that story. Now, have a great day, and be blessed. Watch my commercial and like this thing, subscribe, and get involved in the community. Sanctuary International is here for us. We are metal. We are family. That's it.
Rock stars on God.